All right, we got a neat little problem today that was requested from one of you out there, so thank you for this one. We got some stacked cubes and we're trying to find the surface area as if this was one total figure. Okay, so imagine you've got a cubical box and then you glue this box right on top of that one, and then you glue a smaller box on top of that one. So all of these are cubes, which is very helpful because if they give us a side length, one side length, we know all the side lengths because cubes have congruent side lengths throughout. So if we're saying 3 inches for the small cube, that's a 3 by 3 by 3, 5 for the medium-sized cube, and then 8 for the bottom cube. Now, why is this problem a little bit tricky? Well, because when you're taking this box and putting it on top of that box, remember, if we got an 8 by 8 by 8 cube, I can tell you that this side of the cube has a surface area of 64 inches squared. And so does this one, it's 64. But when we go to the top, so I want you to imagine that I've got this cube right here, right? Sitting with this cube on bottom, and then I put something on top of it. Well, this top is 64 inches squared, but when you cover up most of it, now you're only leaving this space here, and that's what's left. So what you're gonna have to do is think about how to figure out what that number is. I'll show you how in a second. Okay, let's take each of these pieces of information, label it on our picture or our image. Before we do that, how many faces does every cube have? We've got a top, a bottom, there's 2, and then if you go around, you're gonna have 4. So 4 sides going around, and then you have a top and a bottom as bases. That's a total of 6. All right, so every cube has 6 sides. Every cube has 6 faces. All right, now, got 64, 64, but these are only the sides, right? That's like here and here, but what about the backs? We got 2 more on the back, remember? So there's 64, 64, and then if I were able to reach around here and touch the back, this is a 2-dimensional image, so I can't do that, but if I could reach around to the back, I got a side here and a side here, also worth 64. So how many total 64s is that? 4. But which one are we forgetting about? Oh yeah, we gotta wrap the bottom of this thing. We gotta lift this thing up off the ground and wrap the bottom of it. So that is 5 64s. 64, 64, the 2 on the back, the 1 on the bottom. So what I would do right now is I would just start setting that up. 64 times 5. That's gonna give me total surface area to cover the bottom box, but how in the world am I gonna talk about the top, which has a decent chunk of it covered by this box? This dang box is covering up a bunch of that surface area. How do we figure out how much? Well, the medium box is a 5 by 5 by 5. 5 by 5 by 5, which means every one is worth 25 inches squared. 25, 25 inches squared. So check this out. If we know if I were to grab this medium box, lift it up off of it, the top of my bottom cube is 64. But I'm gonna set down this box, which its bottom is gonna be the same as all its other faces. 25, 25, 25, 25 on the bottom. So if I have a total of 64 with this large top, but then I'm covering up with this box 25 square inches, I wanna take 64 minus 25, okay? And that's gonna give me 39. So I'm gonna add 39, that comes from 64 minus 25. 64 would be the total of this that I'm touching right here, but we put a box that covered up 25 square inches of it. So we subtract that, leaving us with 39. Next thing I want to do, think about how many faces I have of the medium box showing with 25 inches squared. Well, the bottom, we're not going to cover that up. It's going to be glued down to the top of this box. But I've got 1, 2, reach around, 3, and then 4 sides wrapping around it. So that's going to end up being plus 25 times 1, 2, these front 2, and then the back 2, times 4. Well, that's a nice, neat number. We know what 25 times 4 is, so that's good. Okay, but remember this top one up here, if I were to go and say, how much is this top worth? We know it's worth 25, but we're taking this box and setting it down on top, meaning it's taking away some of our surface area. Well, how much of it is it taking away? Let's find out. Side length of the small cube is a 3 by 3 by 3. So that means each one of these faces, how do we find our surface area? We say length times width, that's 9 inches squared. So each one of the smaller is worth 9 inches squared. Ooh, the top, 9 inches squared. It's exposed, just like our bottom would be exposed if we picked it up off the ground, okay? So this cube on top, let's see how many 9 inches squared we have. We got the front two faces. Remember, we can reach around to the back two, so there's one back there and one back there that's out of sight right now. So 9, 9, 9, 9, and 9 for a total of 5 faces with 9. So we're gonna say plus, oh, actually we forgot about something. We'll add plus down here. Plus 9 times 5. Okay, the part I forgot to put over here for you real quick is that, remember when we are taking this box of 9 by 9 by 9 by 9, putting it down on top of this box here, this top section that I'm coloring in right now was worth 25. But when we put this box down on top of it, it's covering up 9 square inches of the 25. So what we have to do is add 25 minus 9 to the mix. And what's 25 minus 9? It's gonna give us 16. So I've got a 16 here. Where did 16 come from? Came from 25 minus 9. Okay? So, you've got everything laid out here. Let's just double check and make sure that this is going to give us what we want. Okay? 1, 2, reach around 3, 4, and the bottom for 5 at 64 apiece. The top is worth 39 square inches. We're going to have to cover up this section and this section here. That's 39 square inches because we took the total of 64 minus this box, which we put 25 down and glued and covered up. So 39 is left. All right, this box only has 4 fully exposed faces, the front 2 and then the back 2, but the top is covered up and the bottom is covered up by the bottom and lower boxes, or bottom and top boxes. So 25 times 4 would be what we're covering up here. 25 minus 9 comes from the top of this medium box. It's worth 25 square inches, but we drop a box worth 9 on top, covering up 9 of it, leaving us with 16. And then last but not least, we got front 2, back 2, and top for 5 different faces at 9 inches squared each. Now we just do all the calculations, and what we're left with, that's going to be our total surface area. So 64 times 5, think about what 64 times 5 is. 64 times 10 gives me 640. Cut it in half because you're only multiplying by 5. That leaves you at 320. Plus 39. Well, plus 39 to 320, that's just going to give you 59. Taking care of these two parts. 25 times 4, we love 25 times 4 because that's just 100. So add 100 to 359, that just turns it to a 459. Plus 16 to 459, and then plus 9 times 5. Well, 9 times 5, 45. So we want to add 45. Oops, forgot we also got that 16 to add. Add those together and we should be left with what we need. Okay, so 5 and 6 is 11, 9 is going to be 0, 9, 10. We're left with 520 inches squared. So if you needed to wrap every square inch of this tower of boxes, right, it'd be a little bit less than if we were to take surface area of this, surface area of this, and surface area of this, because when I take that guy and I put it on top, it takes away from my total surface area. Keep in mind, this would be 64, right? The whole thing is 64, but I'm just now removing 25 from the total of 64. Okay? And that is how you would tackle a problem like this. Break it down. I would separate your boxes out to the side. Definitely break it down like this, showing it in sections, working out piece by piece by piece until you get your total. Take your time with something like this. There's a lot of opportunity or room for error, so you got to be careful. Make sure you don't do anything silly, and always go back through and double check your work. But 520 inches squared should be our result for this. Hopefully that makes sense. Study hard and good luck on your upcoming test.